Within the next couple of years of gaming, there are a lot of upcoming open world experiences to come, featuring vast and beautiful worlds being made by giant AAA development teams to smaller but passionate indie developers that are all looking to bring the ultimate experience for us gamers. That's why today we're going to be looking at 28 of the biggest and best upcoming open world games. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below what you're most excited for, and let's begin here at the number 28 spot with Greedfall, which is an action role-playing video game developed by Spiders and published by Focus Home Interactive. The game features a 17th century styled fantasy setting where an island paradise has been discovered by colonial forces from several distinct nations from fictional lands but with magic and monsters. You play as a neutral, able to ally yourself with either the nature-loving natives or any of the nations seeking to exploit the island's resources. Greedfall is about combat, but it's also about diplomacy, deception, and stealth. Your actions, from seemingly trivial choices to the most important political decisions, will influence and affect its course, as well as the relationship between the different factions established on the island. We've only seen a bit from this game, but I do like the setting and theme of this, but Spider's past role-playing games aren't all that encouraging, so this definitely is a wait and see. To the number 27 spot, we have ELEX, which is an open-world science fantasy themed action role-playing video game developed by Piranha Bytes and published by THQ Nordic. A little bit of a mouthful right there. Players join the war for a powerful resource, ELEX, which gives people great magic-like powers and is a factor in deciding whether emotion and humanness or cold synthetic logic will rule the world of Magellan. The game world will be a mix of futuristic and medieval locations in which players can use guns, swords, and magic against enemies. It's full of original characters and mutated creatures. The game also features a jetpack which can be used for the exploration of the game's environment. The game will feature a third-person perspective and also has a huge seamless simulated game world without borders and loading zones, where everyone reacts to the player's actions for providing an authentic atmosphere, deep moral choices, and powerful actions. The game truly feels like let's just try to put everything we can together. Let's add a medieval and post-apocalyptic setting, and let's throw some fantasy in there. It's hard to say how this will turn out, but the gameplay has a lot going on, which appears that some may like or not like, but so far ELEX does look interesting. At the number 26 spot, we have Absolver, which is a martial arts focused action role-playing video game developed by Slowclap. Players control warrior characters who fight other players and computer-controlled characters across a fictional land to prove their worthiness of joining the Absolver Peacekeepers. The characters' fighting moves are customized in a combat deck of cards, with each card assigned to a move. Players earn cards, equipment, and weapons by progressing through the game. The game's story is focused on the human development of the characters as they fight to find their place in the collapsed empire. The game has minor, massively multiplayer online gameplay elements, including the feature of fighting alongside other players on quests and of directly fighting other players on a player versus player matchup. Absolver is coming from a group of former Ubisoft Paris developers, and I have to say, when I saw it at E3 2016, it blew me away, and I still feel that it could be an under-the-radar gem with its unique atmosphere and style. At the number 25 spot, we have Fortnite, which is a survival video game developed by People Can Fly and Epic Games. It's a co-op sandbox survival game and is about exploration, scavenging items, crafting weapons, building fortified structures, and fighting waves of encroaching monsters. Players will work together to scavenge items that they can use for building by day to build their fort, and by night defend it from these zombies for 14 days, hence the title Fortnite. Building will be a core mechanic in the game, and there will be a lot of loot buried within. Players can build and edit each wall of their fort with a 3x3 grid, lay down stairs, roofs, and windows, sculpting them to suit a particular need. Due to this gameplay element, the game is described as Minecraft meets Left 4 Dead by Tim Sweeney, who is the founder of 4 Epic Games. And Fortnite has been in development for years, and I first heard of this last year. Since then, I feel that it could be a lot of fun with gameplay elements allowing us to explore and adventure, but also build our own fort and survive. But Fortnite's development does appear far from over, as it will enter early access in the near future. To the number 24 spot, we have Agents of Mayhem, which is an open-world action-adventure video game set in the Saints Row universe, developed by Volition. The game takes place in a futuristic version of Seoul, South Korea, billed as the City of Tomorrow. The game features 12 different agents, and players can choose 3 agents from them to complete missions and explore the world. Some of the agents include Fortune, a Colombian former sky pirate, Hardtack, a United States Navy Chief Petty Officer, and Hollywood, actor and proclaimed face of mayhem. Each agent has their own unique playstyle and abilities. For instance, Hardtack uses a shotgun as his primary weapon, while Hollywood utilizes his assault rifle. As players deal damage to enemies with their weapons, players accumulate points that fill up in a bar. When that bar is filled, players can utilize the agent's mayhem abilities, which are superpower moves that greatly aid players in combat. Different agents have different mayhem abilities. For example, Fortune can use a drone to stun enemies, while Hollywood can trigger massive explosions around him. You know, I do think it's good that Volition is trying something a bit different than Saints Row. A lot of the same elements are still there, like the parodying of other games. I really am hopeful that this can be a great game and not just something that releases and gets forgotten within a few days. Now to the number 23 spot, we have Welcome to HANNEL, which is an open world horror indie game. HANNEL, once a safe haven from the horrors of the world, now a cesspit of monster scum. Explore a dense open world of terror, every building a unique location within its own story to tell, strung together by the remnants of HANNEL. The HANNEL Council of Public Protection once kept the residents safe, but the council has since fallen, leaving you alone to battle these monsters and find out the backstory. I'm always a bit cautious towards smaller indie games that pretty much came out of nowhere, but I really like the horror element of this game. But I do wonder how exploration within this open world will work. So far, we've only seen a bit of the town we'll be adventuring through, such as a prison, and if the rest of the town is as detailed and spooky, Welcome to HANNEL could be a hidden gem. To the number 22 spot, we have Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is a role-playing video game in development by Warhorse Studios. It's set in the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, an imperial state of the Holy Roman Empire with a focus on historically accurate and realistic content. The game will begin in 1403, where the old king has died, and his heir lacks the power to secure his throne. The new king's brother seizes this opportunity to kidnap the king and pillage his lands, seeking his own advancement. The game will follow the son of a blacksmith whose family has been killed by the invading army. The protagonist seeks revenge and will ultimately strive to restore the rightful ruler to the throne in order to the land. When this game was originally announced, I was so excited for it, mainly because it's a historically medieval game. Some of the early alpha that was shown and the delay had gotten me worried, but our latest trailers from E3 2017 for this game look great, and makes me hopeful that we can experience amazing quests and huge battles within this vast, chaotic world. Now to the number 21 spot, we have Monster Hunter World, which is an action role-playing video game being developed and published by Capcom. The game will feature much larger maps, no loading screens between zones in the map, and 4-player online co-op. It will also allow players from Japan and from Western regions to play together, a first for the game in the series. The players will take the role of a hunter that is tasked by a local village to hunt down or either kill or capture large monsters that roam outside the village. The player's character does not have any intrinsic abilities, but instead these are determined by what equipment the character is equipped with. This includes a weapon which comes from several archetypes, such as a long sword, bow, or guns, which then further defines the types of combat moves and abilities the players can use, and pieces of armor, which can lead to beneficial or detrimental combat skills if matched properly. At first, I'll be honest, I was very nervous about this, but since then I've read up and seen that it is an extremely popular franchise that is finally making its move to the West with this next installment. We've only gotten a brief look at it thus far, but it definitely has my attention with a very unique world and monsters to hunt. Here at the number 20 spot, we have Darksiders 3, which is an action role-playing hack-and-slash video game being developed by Gunfire Games and published by THQ Nordic. Players will take control of Fury, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and this will be played from a third-person perspective. Fury, a mage who is described as the most unpredictable and enigmatic of the 4 horsemen, relies on whips and magic in combat. The story will take place parallel to the events of the previous games in what is described as a ruined, war-torn planet Earth. It follows the protagonist Fury, rider of the Black Horse, sister horseman of the apocalypse, in her quest to destroy the 7 deadly sins. After THQ Nordic released Darksiders War Mastered, most of us knew this was coming, and being a longtime fan of this franchise, I'm excited to see where the story goes with Fury. A lot of people felt disappointed with Darksiders 2, but I really hope that this next game can drive the interest back and lead to this franchise moving forward. Now at the number 19 spot, we have SHENMUE 3, which is an action-adventure role-playing video game developed by Nalo and YSNet. In 1987, following the events of SHENMUE 2, teenage martial artist Ryo Hazuki has journeyed from Japan to the mountains of China in search of his father's killer, Lan Di. There he meets Ling Shenhua, a mysterious girl who previously appeared in his dreams. After learning the legend of her village, which foretells a united path between them, Ryo and Shenhua embark on a new journey which reveals their shared destiny. This was revealed 2 years ago. Most of us never thought we'd get this, but thanks to Kickstarter, we are. Unfortunately, there has been some controversy and a delay facing SHENMUE 3, but I am looking forward to seeing Yu Suzuki's vision for this game come alive, and hopefully we can get the SHENMUE 3 we always wanted. At the number 18 spot, we have ASHEN, which is an open-world survival, combat and exploration-based video game set in a fantasy environment in development by indie developer Aurora44. It's set in a sunless world and tells the story of a character seeking a home. Gameplay is described as including open-world exploration, cooperation or completion with other other players, and combat within-world monsters. The game is presented in a third-person view with a muted cel-shaded graphics presentation. The game has been described as containing gameplay elements of classic role-playing games such as King's Quest, as well as games such as DayZ. If Dark Souls and Journey were put together, I have to believe ASHEN would be what you get. Revealed at E3 2017, it was one of the gems to come from Microsoft's conference. Very little has been shown, but there's a lot to like, and I'm not too sure how far this game is in development, but I'm excited to see more from this. Now at the number 17 spot we have Skull and Bones, which is a multiplayer action video game developed by Ubisoft Singapore. It's played from a third-person view, and players will take control of a customizable pirate captain and may choose to sail the Indian Ocean by themselves or accumulate up to 5 other players to ally or engage in combat within disputed waters. Gameplay of sailing our ship is described as so. Wind positioning can be assessed to gain an advantage in battle. Players may collect additional ships throughout the game, such as sloops of war, frigates, and brigantines, whose weapons include mortars, cannons, and rockets. Ships can be charged into with brute force and boarded. The rate of inflicted damage is gauged by the health bar. A core component is loot hunt, where 2 groups of players are challenged in treasure hunting to further accumulate their riches. Each given ship's crow's nest is scalable for use as a lookout post, and spy glasses can be used as well. Say what you want, but Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag had some amazing naval combat. Skull and Bones is pretty much the standalone game of that, just without the Assassin's Creed touch to it, and it looks awesome. As Ubisoft has noted, the water and world overall looks great and very realistic, but the main elements that got me excited was the multiplayer that looks like a blast, and the Kraken that was teased at the end of its debut trailer. Skull and Bones is certainly a game to keep on your radar. Now to the number 16 spot we have Vampyr, which is an action role-playing video game developed by Don't Nod Entertainment and published by Focus Home Interactive. The plot revolves around vampire Dr. Jonathan Reed, who is coming to terms with his undead condition. He must deal with being torn between the Hippocratic Oath and his newfound bloodthirsty nature. The player is under no obligation to kill to finish the game. Dialogue options can be used for hunting prey to feed on, which replenishes strength and levels up the lead character. Weapons and supernatural abilities are employed while combating enemies. London serves as a fictionalized semi-open world composed of 4 districts, all amenable to destruction should the average health of its citizens diminish. Vampyr is based on the 1918 London Spanish flu pandemic. Anyone in the game can be targeted, which will have consequences that affect the citizens of London. Reed can turn people into vampires and will only be able to enter a house with an invitation. Locals will also have different backgrounds, relationships, and daily routines. If killed, they will impart to Reed their last thought. So far, Don't Nod has delivered some solid games such as Life is Strange, and their next game is Vampyr, which as of now has a very interesting premise. Previously, our first look at gameplay had me worried, but the newest E3 2017 gameplay demo made me a lot more excited, as it feels a lot of my worries are gone. There certainly are still parts that need to be worked on, but what we've seen so far is just the alpha build, and I truly feel that this could be a pleasant surprise later on here in 2017 when it releases. To the number 15 spot we have Project White. It's an open world Viking RPG being developed by The Outsiders, which is a small team led by ex-Battlefield and Payday developers. The game tells its story through the viewpoint of a creature rather than that of its Viking-esque warriors. This game will be taking in a diverse range of influences. Project White is inspired by monster movies, surrealist poetry, heavy metal album covers, and many other sources that fascinate the studio's team. But the main inspiration comes from John Gardner's Grendel, which tells the Beowulf epic but written from the point of view of the monster. As you can gather, not much has been released about this game so far, but it will be releasing sometime in 2017, and the developers are aiming to make a huge experience. It's not just killing humans, it looks to be much more than that, making the role-playing experience something different than a lot of the RPGs that we've seen so far. Now here at the number 14 spot we have Crackdown 3, which is an open-world action-adventure video game being developed by Sumo Digital, Regent Games, and CloudGen. Explore the heights of a futuristic city, race through the streets in a transforming vehicle, and use your powerful abilities to stop a ruthless criminal empire. Crackdown 3 delivers cooperative mayhem in an all-new multiplayer mode where destruction is your ultimate weapon powered by Microsoft Cloud. Coming alongside the Xbox One X, we are finally jumping back into the world of Crackdown. The full destruction teased years ago is said to only be a part of the multiplayer, which kind of bums me out, but I still think the campaign could be a blast. I've been waiting for this game for years now, and so far the gameplay looks encouraging, and having Terry Crews a part of this is also a nice touch. Now to the number 13 spot we have Metro Exodus, which is a semi-open world first-person shooter video game developed by 4A Games and published by Deep Silver. It's set in a post-apocalyptic post-apocalyptic wasteland of the former Russian Federation. The player must cope with the new hazards and engage in combat against mutated creatures as well as hostile humans. Set in 2036, continuing the story from Metro Last Light's redemption ending, the player assumes the role of a 22-year-old Artyom who flees the metro in Moscow and sets off on a continent-spanning journey with Spartan Rangers to the Far East. Artyom first travels around the Volga River, not far from the Ural Mountains, to get a ride on a locomotive known as the Aurora that heads east for a new life. The story takes place over the course of 1 year, starting in harsh nuclear winter in the metro. Another major character returning from the previous game and the book Metro 2035 is Anna, who is now Artyom's wife. Development of this game began in 2014 at 4A Games Studios in Malta and Kyiv. Personally, this has to be one of my most anticipated games of 2018, as this franchise is one of my favorite. Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light were just phenomenal and underrated survival horror games, but it does appear Exodus will have more variety with adventuring to different parts of Russia. But once again, we will still play as Artyom and continue his travels, hopefully once again seeing the Dark Ones who promise their return at some point in the future. To the number 12 spot, we have Super Mario Odyssey, which is a 3D platform video game developed and published by Nintendo. As part of the main Super Mario series, the game returns to the primarily open-ended exploration-based gameplay previously featured in Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine. Super Mario Odyssey puts the player in the role of Mario as he travels beyond the Mushroom Kingdom on his hat-shaped ship, the Odyssey. A new core feature of the game is Mario's ability to throw his cap, known as Cappy, to both attack enemies, active objects, and temporarily possess specific enemies and non-playable characters, including a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a Goomba, motor vehicles, and a realistically proportioned human. Nintendo has been delivering some amazing games, and it really looks like this next Mario is going to be the ultimate experience that many of us have wanted for a long time. Other than the different worlds we'll be entering into, the gameplay and new features like Cappy look like a lot of fun. In addition, at E3 2017, Super Mario Odyssey received unanimously positive press coverage, which makes me believe we're in for another treat from Nintendo. To the number 11 spot, we have State of Decay 2, which is a survival video game developed by Undead Labs and published by Microsoft Studios. It's set 15 months after the events of the first game. The world hasn't gotten much better, and things will soon become even more complicated. Develop each character's traits and skills to improve their capabilities and strengthen your community. Collect resources to build and fortify your base, unlocking crucial new facilities and valuable community options along the way. Elevate your favorite survivors to leadership roles in your community by heeding their advice and completing their goals, and unlock new community benefits and objectives that suit your leader's ideals. Manage your relationships and goals of your survivors to build a strong community that has a lasting impact on the future of your world. Play solo or for the first time in the State of Decay franchise with up to 3 of your friends. I was really hoping to see this in late 2017, but waiting a bit longer is fine by me. State of Decay was a huge surprise, and Undead Labs have done a great job thus far at improving on a lot of the features from the previous game, which gets me excited to this time play with other players through co-op and build huge communities. Now at the number 10 spot, we have Borderlands 3. It's an action role-playing first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox Software. Not much is known about this next Borderlands, but Gearbox has begun to give teases through their latest game, Battleborn. Months back, we had a spray-painted hint for the probable location for Borderlands 3, and that is Promethea. And just recently, a new Easter egg was discovered, and it was deciphered reading, "Visit Promethea, children of the vault, we are not on Pandora anymore, Tannis is not what she seems, do not open the vaults." It has been rumored that the Atlas Corporation will be playing a much bigger role within this game, and if it is being placed on Promethea, the last we heard of the Atlas Corporation was through Tales from the Borderlands, where, spoiler alert, Reese takes control of the company by taking Handsome Jack's stock certificates and sets out on a mission to restore Atlas to greatness again. Also just recently, we got our first taste of this game at GDC 2017, where they were showing off a gameplay demo of what this next Borderlands game would look like, and it was running on the Unreal Engine 4. Other details that have been mentioned are the possibility of Scooter's son Scooper being featured, multiple planets to explore, and this releasing in late 2018. Following some disappointing games from Gearbox, they are on the road to Borderlands 3. Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox, has promised that they would only do a third game in the series if it was massive, and hints of us heading to Promethea indicates that. Following the ending of the second game, it did leave the door open for finding new vaults, and it was even hinted a war was coming. Everything so far about this next Borderlands sounds awesome, and this is the exact way Gearbox gets to the top once more. Now at the number 9 spot, we have Days Gone, which is an open world action adventure survival horror video game in development by SIE Ben Studio. It's set 2 years after a devastating global pandemic. Set in the Pacific Northwest, we play as Deacon St. John, a bounty hunter facing a brutal struggle for survival, searching for a reason to live. At its core, Days Gone is about survivors and what makes them human. Desperation, loss, madness, betrayal, friendship, brotherhood, regret, love, and hope. It's about how even when confronted with such enormous tragedy, they find a reason to live. Hope never dies. In addition to human drifters, marauders, and militia, Deacon must face a wilderness overrun by freakers, mindless feral creatures more animal than human, but very much alive and quickly evolving. Freakers have needs, habits, and behaviors that the player can learn and adapt to. I think we all can agree that the zombie genre has been a bit oversaturated, but there's something special about Days Gone. It really seems that SIE Bend Studio is concentrating on the human interaction through this brutal zombie-infested world, which I feel is a nice move and could set up for some great storytelling and overall a great game. At the number 8 spot, we have Anthem, which is an open-world action role-playing video game being developed by BioWare. The player will assume the role of a freelancer, one of a group of bold and courageous people who leave their civilization to explore a lush and dangerous landscape. Fully customizable exosuits called Javelins can be customized to have various unique weapons and superhuman abilities. 2 classes of Javelins were shown during Anthem's presentation at Microsoft's E3 2017 conference. One was the Ranger, which is an all-around and balanced Javelin, and the Colossus, which is a larger and more heavily armored Javelin made to fill in more of a tanking role. The game is a shared world, cooperative multiplayer game that can have up to 4 squad members per team. Teams can fight savage beasts and ruthless marauders while exploring lost ruins and experiencing massive world-altering terrain occurrences such as Shaper Storms. Following Mass Effect Andromeda, this is BioWare's next title, which at least to me feels like Crysis and Destiny put together. The world looks vast and the combat looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, but I will admit I still have a bad taste from Mass Effect Andromeda, which gets me worried, but let's all just hope BioWare can shock us with Anthem. To the number 7 spot, we have Far Cry 5, which is a first-person shooter action-adventure video game developed by Ubisoft Montreal, and for the first time the game will feature a new character creator in which players can customize their character's appearance, gender, and skin tone. It will place a renewed emphasis on close quarters combat compared to previous Far Cry titles by introducing a wider range of melee weapons like pitchforks, sledgehammers, and baseball bats. Joseph Seed, who will be the villain, has risen to prominence in the region. Seed believes that he has been chosen to protect the people of Hope County from an inevitable collapse, and has established a congregation called Eden's Gate. But in reality, Seed is a radical preacher, and Eden's Gate is a militaristic doomsday cult. Under his rule, Eden's Gate has used both coercion and violence to forcibly convert the residents of Hope County, as well as keeping the other residents from contacting the federal government for help. Seed, who assumes the title, quote, the Father, unquote, maintains control over Hope County with the aid of his siblings known as the Heralds. But on the flip side of things, there is a resistance that is growing, and a previous attempt of arresting Seed resulted in the deaths of several lawmen, which brings our character into the fold, as they will take the role of a sheriff's deputy who is sent to Hope County to arrest Seed. Far Cry 5 really has an interesting premise, which has obviously sparked some controversy. Personally, I think it looks great, and it appears that Ubisoft is adding and changing a lot of gameplay elements, which is a nice change as the last two Far Cry games were letdowns to me. I do hope that the story does not follow the same pattern as Far Cry 4, which was pretty straightforward with taking out Pig and Min, and has a little bit more surprise within the story. But to the number 6 spot, we have Sea of Thieves, which is an action-adventure video game developed by Rare and published by Microsoft Studios. The game involves a group of players traveling and exploring an open world via a pirate ship, and assuming different roles such as steering, hoisting sails, navigation, firing cannons, and other tasks. Sail across varied seas and handcrafted islands, battling enemies and unearthing the secrets of those that came before. Form a crew and voyage to treasure-filled islands, face legendary creatures, and test your mettle in epic ship battles against other pirates. Adventure across a vast ocean where every sail on the horizon means a ship filled with real players who may be friends or foes. There's just so much love about this game. The art style is very unique, and the combat, adventuring, sailing, treasure hunting looks exciting. The latest E3 2017 gameplay and trailers really makes me feel a little bit more confident that this could be a hit for Microsoft when it finally arrives early in 2018. Now down to our top 5, here at the 5 spot we have Assassin's Creed Origins. It's an action-adventure RPG being developed by Ubisoft Montreal. The game is set in 49 BC, in ancient Egypt during Cleopatra's reign, and follows Bayek, a Medjay who eventually will become the founders of the Assassins. The game is played from a third-person view, and its world can be navigated on foot, horseback, or boat. Origins will not feature any multiplayer gameplay, and Ubisoft did start working on Origins before Unity, and have made their largest game in the series. featuring large and small cities with many landmarks including Memphis and Alexandria. The gameplay of Assassin's Creed Origins has been completely reworked, and will have much more features including a new control scheme, enemy AI being upgraded, a controllable eagle, a leveling system for weapons, enemies, and our character, crafting, a skill tree, and so much more. After taking a year off, Assassin's Creed is back, and it looks completely different, taking inspiration from many games including The Witcher 3 and Skyrim. The games director of Assassin's Creed Origins, who last worked on Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Ashraf, makes me excited that this could be the game we long have wanted to see. To the number 4 spot, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of War. It's an open-world action role-playing video game developed by Monolith Productions. The player continues the story of the Ranger Talion, who shares his body with the spirit of the Elf Lord Celebrimbor, as they use one of the Rings of Power to amass an army to fight against Sauron and his Nazgul forces. The players control the human Talion, who has several natural athletic and combat abilities as a ranger, but also has unique abilities provided by the spirit of the Elf Lord Celebrimbor, who shares his body. The players use their combined abilities to complete various missions typically aimed to disrupt the armies of the Sauron. The game will expand upon Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system to apply to a larger part of the world, including other characters called followers that have behaviors guided by how the player character has interacted with them. A lot of the aspects from Shadow of Mordor are returning better than ever. The Nemesis system is said to be a lot more robust, huge battles and fortress sieges look to be even better, with a lot more strategy involved. Even though Shadow of War has been delayed a few months from August to October, I still am extremely excited to once again get back into this world. Now to the number 3 spot, we have Marvel's Spider-Man, which is an action-adventure video game based on the Marvel comic book superhero Spider-Man, and it is being developed by Insomniac Games. Peter Parker is now 23 years old and interning at a laboratory while he's about to graduate from college. Peter has been Spider-Man for 8 years and has settled into his role as protector of New York City. Early in the story, Spider-Man defeats Wilson Fisk, who is also the Kingpin, but a new gang emerges known as the Inner Demons, led by Martin Lee, one of New York's most prominent philanthropists, under his alter ego, Mr. Negative. Things get complicated for Peter's personal life as Martin runs the Feast shelters located across the city, and Peter's Aunt May works at Feast. Interestingly, Miles Morales has been teased to be involved in the story. Players will be able to use Spider-Man's abilities such as web slinging and wall crawling, as well as new gameplay elements, one of which will be the ability to traverse using parkour. Environmental combat and stealth is also featured in the game. I have to say it, but from what we've seen, this Spider-Man is reminding me of the PlayStation 2 days playing Spider-Man 2. I really cannot explain how hyped I am for this, but so far seeing the combat of Spider-Man leads me to believe that this has Game of the Year potential. I have to add, I wonder how Miles Morales will be involved in the story and how the Peter Parker aspect will play into the game. When this was first revealed, I was excited, and after seeing some gameplay, I'm even more hyped and ready for this. Now to the number 2 spot, we have Cyberpunk 2077. It's a planned open-world action role-playing video game being developed by CD Projekt Red, the developers of the Witcher franchise. The game aims to be mature and ambitious, with character customization being strongly tied to the plot. Planned features include a non-linear story with different character classes, as well as both first-person and third-person perspectives. Cyberpunk 2077 will feature a dystopian futuristic world in which ultra-modern technology coexists with a degenerated human society. It is set in an open-world large city called Night City, whose inhabitants communicate in non-English languages. Players who do not speak the languages can buy a translator implant to better comprehend them. Along with the single-player story, Cyberpunk 2077 will also include a multiplayer component. In May of 2012, Cyberpunk 2077 began its pre-production, and CD Projekt Red described it as being far bigger than The Witcher 3. Reports have stated that the studio began production recently in 2016, and with a change in the game director led to all pre-production being scrapped. It was also found that CD Projekt plans to release Cyberpunk 2077 no later than mid-2019. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt will go down in history as one of the best games ever, and it's exciting to see what their next project will be like. Recently, CD Projekt has faced some controversy as hackers stole game documents from Cyberpunk 2077 and tried to ransom money out of them, which did not work. Cyberpunk 2077 was first announced in 2012, and it's now in full development. Most of us really just want CD Projekt Red to take their time and hopefully deliver another masterpiece. But now to the number 1 spot, we have Red Dead Redemption 2, which is an open-world western action-adventure video game developed by Rockstar Studios. It will be played from a third-person point of view, featuring single-player and online multiplayer components. The official description of Red Dead Redemption 2 reads as so: Red Dead Redemption 2 is an epic tale of life in America's unforgiving heartland. The game's vast and atmospheric world will also provide the foundation for a brand new online multiplayer experience. Rockstar has been quiet about this next installment, but quite a few leaks have come about, including a believed to be early alpha image, leaked world map which was confirmed to be the real deal by Tech Radar, and a Rockstar insider who claims the game will feature 3 protagonists of Dutch's gang, but John Marston is not one of them, and many activities from Red Dead Redemption like gang hideouts will return. The latest update we did get from Rockstar was that the game was delayed till spring of 2018. We also did get some new images showing off dual-wielding revolvers, the open world, characters, and much more. Rockstar has been quiet for the last couple of years, and finally in spring of 2018, we'll see our next adventure with Red Dead Redemption 2. As it has been said, the game was not delayed because it's in trouble, but because they need more time to perfect more than likely the online component. I truly am confident with Rockstar Games that we'll be experiencing an absolute gem when it finally arrives next year, but for now all we can do is patiently await as Rockstar does what they do best, with staying quiet. But anyway guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below what upcoming open world game excites you the most. Also, don't forget to smack that like button if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this on huge upcoming games, and I'll see you later.